Hello everyone and welcome to a VBLS commentary video for Season 9. This one is going to be one focused more on the league rather than using the league as an example in which to analyze draft as a format. And here today, this is something I always like doing with newer coaches, so today I have with me PurpleReign. Rain, say hello.
Hello. As you said, I'm PurpleReign and I'm the coach for the Baltimore Buzzwolves.
Yeah, Rain spelt similar to that guy from Mob Psycho. Not like the Prince song. Though I assume it's a play on words.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It sounds like that. I've decided to go with Rain as your name because there are a million people called Purple. But that said, I do know someone who has the other type of Rain as just their first name. So it's not like I'm not exposed to that as well. It's just that they're not in the draft sphere. So that's fine.
Right.
So today we're going to be doing a lot of my alignment charts, which is where we look at the various teams in a division. So this division, conference, whatever, the one that I think it's conference, and we look at the teams to see whether we think that in general they're going to play more for tempo or more towards the long game. So playing for tempo means that they'll try and close the game out in the first few things. They'll try and trade KOs for KOs. And try to invalidate the opponent's game plan by stopping the opponent from being able to make decisions. Whereas in the long game, they tend to play more to not trading KOs for KOs, to sustaining their thing, to play through positioning defensively, and they like to be able to mitigate the impact of the decisions that their opponents make. And then in terms of top heavy versus wide, so the theory is most teams are going to have about one Pokemon that they expect to come to most weeks, just as a result of that's the Pokemon that they're taking round one or what have you. But in some weeks you have teams some teams have very, very top heavy, where there are 3, 4, maybe even 5 Pokemon that you would expect to come each week. So that is kind of like, you have zero, if it looks like they'll bring a different Pokemon, like a different set of 6 Pokemon, like there's no Pokemon you expect to come to most of the games, then they come right at the end of the wide section. Whereas last season we had one team who did very well, mind you, the Phoenix Suns, that we had very heavily in the top heavy section, and they brought basically the same 4 Pokemon every game. So that is the thought process on what wide/top heavy means. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Makes total sense.
One thing I will note at the time of recording, the doc hasn't been fully updated with pics of a person who had internet issues while they were on holidays and only made up the pics while they're away. It was 9 hours ago, but it's Easter, so I can't really blame people for not aggressively updating the doc. That said, I believe that you said you wanted to bully the mods about that, so I'll let you go.
I did not say that. I
believe that you said it would be fun.
Name.
I'm pretty sure you specifically said it would be fun.
Confirm nor deny.
You can neither confirm nor deny that allegation. You know what they call that? Confession. So, first of all, we're looking at Sly, the Seattle Swallows. Sly is a very tenured coach, and is exactly the coach that I would expect to become Chi-Yu Salads. Mouse, oh my god, Mousel went round. Okay, so
I know, when I saw a lot of the
both of us were in the physical draft where people made reasonable draft decisions, whereas other people were in the special draft, the one that we're looking at, where we don't think they made reasonable draft decisions. Well, I mean, like the people who took advantage of the other players did, but
a couple of the drafts in the special division I think are just like bonkers. I think they're really good, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
I mean, it's what if you think they got 3 round 1 Pokemon they're going to bring every game, then that's pretty heavily on the wide section, right? So yeah, in terms of the Seattle Swallows, there's honestly a real mix of game plans here, because there are some incredibly fast Pokemon. Like Chi-Yu is probably the fastest Pokemon in the format, not in terms of speed, but in terms of game speed, because it got a spread move that nukes plenty of things, especially with Trudel here as a potential Sunny Day bot, or multiple Pokemon that can use Helping Hand. I think Hippo gets Helping Hand. I'm pretty sure Magneton does. A bunch of random Pokemon get Helping Hand. Magneton might not. I'm pretty sure Hippo does though. But then you've got Hippo and Houndstone, which Hippo normally plays more towards a long game, and Houndstone is capable of both playing towards the quick game with Tyranitar and then more so the long game with Hippowdon, where it can run like a Wisp set that utilizes Fur Coat or the speed boosting thing to limit the amount of damage the opponent is doing. Alternatively, in the fast mode, you can just click a Funnel Gambit mod next to Tyranitar and then spam Last Respects with Houndstone, which Hippo does tend to gravitate more towards that long game. But maybe we'll even be seeing like a Hex Houndstone with Chi-Yu, because even having a middling special attack you can take advantage of with them being at like having a helping hand from your Chi-Yu ability. Trying to forget what I can't remember words. What about you think? Do you think this plays more towards tempo or more towards the long game? Because I'm seeing it really straddle both sides quite strongly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, it's a really flexible team in that way. I would tend to think it's going to play pretty quickly, though, just because of Chi-Yu's existence most of the time.
Yeah, Salamence and Mal. My thoughts are maybe this is a team which maybe can run like a longer game with like a 3 Pokemon core, and then just kind of have Chi-Yu as a cleanup mon. And that might be a really interesting way to utilize Chi-Yu in this format, to try and pressure out the major Chi-Yu checks, use stuff like Sand Chip, and maybe spread moves like a Gardevoir, Dazzling Gleam next to with Telepathy next to an Earthquake from Hippo, and then try and push Pokemon to the point that they are then going to be in range of Chi-Yu, and just pick up 2 or 3 KOs right at the back. But I think this team is very much straddles the two of them. But I'd lean slightly towards tempo, but I'd be really interested to see what they do with it. I would say this is a relatively top-heavy team.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I think that the bottom 4 Pokemon are very plug-and-play. Okay, maybe not. Okay, take back the Marrow. Flittle, Shroodle, and Crabominable all have games where they can come, but this team's Trick Room setter is Gardevoir and Flittle. Which, they're both not like terrible Trick Room setters. I mean, Flittle's not a great Trick Room setter. Its best ability is obviously Speed Boost. But this doesn't have the abilities listed for Gen 9 Pokemon. That's heartbreaking. I did not mean to click that. I don't remember Flittle's other ability. Is it Opportunist? I think it might still have Opportunist, and possibly Frisk. I'm not sure.
I believe, yeah, that's right.
Opportunist and Frisk?
I'm double checking, but that sounds right. Yeah. It's Anticipation.
Anticipation. Not Opportunist or not Frisk?
Not Opportunist.
Okay, so it does have Frisk. Frisk is a really good ability for like a pocket Trick Room setter. Yeah, Shroodle has its use cases. Flittle has its use cases. I think to some extent Magneton has its use cases. Obviously, Magneton really loves Eviolite, which I don't know if Shroodle uses Eviolite that well. Maybe it's more of a Focus Sash mon. Flittle definitely does appreciate Eviolite. But yeah, I think that Chi-Yu's coming basically every game. I think that Mousehold is coming basically every game. I think Salamence is coming most games. And then honestly, probably Gardevoir as well, considering that Salamence and Gardevoir are the special attackers besides Flittle. And Magneton, I guess. But I think Gardevoir is a little bit more consistent than Magneton. Unless you want to Terra Ground Chi-Yu, I suppose.
Yeah, but so there's at least 3 Pokemon that are coming every game.
I think there are 2 Pokemon that are coming every game, and then a 3rd Pokemon that's coming basically every game. So I would say this is a fairly top-heavy team. I put this in the like 3.5 sort of range, where 3 is like here and 4 is like here. So I'll put this in like 3.5 Pokemon. Because I also think I see Gardevoir coming to most games, and then Hippo, Houndstone, easily make a 6th, or you can plug and play other options.
That makes sense.
So then the next team will probably help if I scroll along. The Milwaukee Bears, with Coach Furin. It's a Sun team. Okay, I see now. I remember hearing, I think that this is one of their first times playing in draft, and they came with a similar mentality to you, where they didn't want to game stuff and instead just wanted to get something that they knew worked. Which is why they went for like such an early Lilligant, which is, it makes sense not to risk stuff on your own attempts when there's stuff that you know works. But that does also then impact that anyone who wasn't looking for Lilligant in round 2 got a Pokemon that they might have preferred in round 2. Potentially even in round 3, like the Mousehold over here. Yeah, and then Hatterene is good. Brute Bonnet and Belly Bolt are okay. Copperajah is quite good. This is very, very Trick Room heavy with 2 Trick Room setters.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a Trick Room team.
I'm saying this is a very top heavy team. As a result of the fact that... Yeah.
Torkoal, Lilligant basically always have to come to have immediate pressure.
I think that Torkoal, Lilligant, and Hariyama come basically every game. And then Brute Bonnet comes most games. One of Hatterene or Rangaroo, potentially both. Copperajah. I don't have faith in Crabrawler or Diglett Gumshoes. Diglett can do stuff, but I think this is probably the worst Diglett team that I've... Like, it's the fastest mon on the team? Yeah, it's the fastest mon on the team. Tied with... Or just faster than Lilligant. No, tied with Lilligant. No, faster than Lilligant. Yeah, Diglett is the fastest Pokemon on the team. That is probably not the optimal way to use Diglett, I think. Yeah, I mean, the team exists. I am not... I think that it is playing very tempo heavy, right? Torkoal is incredibly tempo heavy. Oranguru Instruct is incredibly tempo heavy. Hatterene, I mean, Trick Room in general is pretty tempo because you don't generally want to lock stuff out within those few turns of Trick Room.
Yeah.
Like Hariyama is like fake out into damage. Brute Bonnet is damage. Copperajah is like that Life Orb Sheer Force damage. Belly Bolt gets that charge up and does damage. It's incredibly tempo heavy. So I would say that this is probably a little bit even more top heavy than the Seattle Swallows. Yeah, I'm putting that firmly in the 4 sort of range for 4.1, 4.2, and really heavy into tempo, though it is a Trick Room team, so it's not the most tempo, because you can't have a lower tempo play than clicking Trick Room turn 1.
Yeah, but I mean, after that play, it's
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it's a very polarizing sort of tempo, similar with Tailwind.
I mean, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to click Trick Room first every game, though.
But other that is clicking what after you next to Torkoal? Spore with Brute Bonnet, maybe.
Sleep Powder if it's a bad matchup with Lilycole, but
yeah, I mean, Sleep Powder is still not an attacking move. You're generally not getting 2 attacks off before your opponent gets 2 off.
No.
And I think that's the specific concern that I have. Yeah, so I think that this is a tempo-y team.
But not the most.
Yeah. Hariyama, Diglett, the offensive core. The offensive lead. I wish I was joking. Now we come over to Regilabs and Heaven 64. Speaking of tempo.
Yeah.
This is a tempo team that's not really top-heavy at all. Like, I think the most inconsistent mon here is Muck, which is not a bad or unusable mon by any means. Pincurchin with 2 terrain abusers is pretty strong. Well, I suppose Klefki isn't necessarily a tempo mon, but like it plays very well into offensively supporting Iron Jugulus, though Metal Sound accuracy, etc. Pelipper, very tempo heavy sort of mon. Rain can be slower, but like Pelipper Floatzel is not particularly slow. Sort of Rain compliments Iron Jugulus on that.
That's gonna blow stuff up.
Yeah, like this team doesn't even have like a redirector. This team has got a lot of overlapping offensive stabs, so it's got 3 offensive electric types, it's got 2 offensive darks types, 2 offensive flying types, 2 offensive water types. It's really relying on being able, well, relying on probably isn't a fair criticism. It's a team which can reliably match up fish opposing teams, so if you run into a team that doesn't have a great water matchup, you run the 2 water guys and Iron Jugulus, and you may even like Terra Water the Jugulus, and that's going to be really rough for them. If you run into a team that has a terrible electric matchup, which plenty of them do, 3 electric types, including terrain. 100% accurate Thunders in rain, because I'm pretty sure that Iron Thorns has pretty good usable special attack.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And if not,
pretty usable with Thunder.
I mean, Yeah, even on he can still wild charge.
Yeah. And then like ground and dark. Realistically, the only one, and this is an issue that I had when I had a Klefki team as well, is that Fairy's often a good offensive type, and Klefki's not necessarily the best one at taking advantage of that. So I'd say this is a relatively tempo team, though it does have some more late game. I'd say maybe similar to the Seattle Swallows, but a bit more offensive. So then the next question is, how top heavy is it? I think, this team is super wide.
Yeah, because it can. I can see pretty much every Pokemon coming to a different.
So I mean, the question is not can you see every Pokemon coming? It's can you see every Pokemon sitting on the bench? In my opinion, I don't really see Iron Jugular sitting on the bench. So I'm putting this in like the 1.5 sort of range. And a little bit more tempo than the Seattle Swallows. I've got this in the half sort of range, but the half sort of range is not bad by any means. 1.5 sort of range, So I expect Iron Jugglers to come most games, and I wouldn't be shocked if Pelipper came a lot, but beyond that, it's like, oh no, you're using 2 good Pokemon, and, only one of them, like, all the time. So this is pretty good. I think that's a
really
pretty accurate thing. The Levitating Leafers. Holy tempo, Batman.
More tempo on top of tempo.
I'd looked at this team, and then I'd forgotten that I'd looked at this team, and my gosh. There is just 9 immediately offensively threatening Pokemon on this team.
Yeah.
It's like when Arcanine is like the mon that you're bringing the most often, that isn't necessarily immediately offensively threatening. I mean, Arcanine is pretty threatening, and like Slowbro as well, which is in the next place. Like, it's like, there's 2 extreme speed spammers. There's First Impression, obviously both of them with Gen Pow. Donphan has its own priority, as well as it can function as an anti-trick room mon with Room Service or an Iron Ball. It's like Slowbro doesn't even get Belly Drum or something, Kilowattrel, very consistent Tailwind mon. A lot of times your opponent is going to have a faster Pokemon than Jianpao, or more realistically against this team, likely commit like a Terra Rock, because this team does have a lot of mons that don't like getting hit by a Terra Blast Rock. And I forget, there's like a random offensive move stat where like it reliably KOs bulky Kilowattrel with a Scarf Terra Blast Rock, and that's going to be even more with Jianpao. But that is what it is. Lucario is not a real rock resist. Donphan is a rock resist, but not a great one. I suppose is more the concern, especially when Lucario wants to Terra Normal a lot in this team. I think that I was pretty hesitant on Lucario in previous formats, but it's pretty good here. I'd say very, very tempo heavy.
The only real defensive pivots, I guess, would be like Arcanine can be and Slowbro are the only really defensive Pokemon.
The same 2 Pokemon I mentioned. You can do it with Slazzle, right? You can switch Slazzle around to get Fake Out. Mismagius has 2 immunities, and Slazzle's got a pretty decent bevy of specific resists. Kilowattrel's a ground immunity as well. And Go-Go technically can. Gen Power's Recover. It's the only ruin with recovery. But I would say, this is a max tempo team. Like, very slightly below the top game. And then, like, you can run some of these Pokemon in a more defensive way. Like I was saying with Qianpao. The same thing with, like, a Wisp Mismagius or a Bulk Up Lucario. But it's definitely not the default way. This team is just very immediately offensively threatening. So, how wide do we think this team is? I think Qianpao comes every game, and I honestly think any other mon can come. Maybe not Tandemaus. Yeah. I mean, I never brought Go-Go when I had it, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That just means it didn't fit on my team. Probably don't think it fits on this team either, to be fair.
I'd expect Arcanine to come most games.
I'd expect Arcanine to come maybe 5 or 6 of the 7 games. I expect Qianpao to come all 7. Like, I could very easily see them leaving Arcanine behind more than 1 week.
Okay.
So I'd say this is a relatively wide team, similar to Reggie Labs,
I would agree.
where it's got like 1.5 sort of mons that you expect to come most games. So now on to the skilled Snivies. This is the team with 4 extra Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oricorio, which is all 4 forms, Phalanx, Stantler, and Wiglet. This is a long game team. We finally have gotten away from the tempo to see a team that has 1 tempo mon. Everything else is a long game. Or I guess when you add in Phalanx, Phalanx is also a pretty tempo. But Oricorio and Stantler are definitely not super tempo-y sort of mons.
Mm-hmm. And Wiglet, I mean, the most tempo mon there is.
That is true. That is true. The same thing we were saying about Diglett. It's only on stage for 1 turn, right? But like when Rotom and Vaporeon are your most turn 1 scary threats.
Yeah, you're not doing a lot.
Yeah, you're not like there are matchups where you can run that Life Orb Ledge, or you can run that Specs Rotom or that Scarf Vaporeon, and they definitely those matchups exist. By default, I would expect. Also, Sneasel is probably the actual sort of thing. And Ledge is kind of, if you click Flare Blitz, it is. No Poltergeist though. Phalanx is also pretty immediately offensively threatening with a choice out of or Life Orb. But yeah, I'd say this is definitely a longer game team. And it's been 2 seconds and I skilled Snivies.
Yeah.
Pretty long game.
Yeah,
it's not passive though.
Yeah, I mean it wants to
probably have 8 turns so that it can use all Fisher PP.
Yeah. It's gonna, I'd imagine, set up screens a good amount with Espathra.
Or Rotom.
And then just bulk up with Ceruledge and have Ting-Lu to help with the special defense, and then eventually beat a team down. So yeah, it's
Rotom, Calm-Minding, Vaporeon, Swords Dance, Tinkaton. There's a lot, or even just like clicking Lumina Crash and Thunderbolt with Espathra and Rotom.
Yeah.
Or Muddy Water with Vaporeon or whatever. I definitely think this team plays a pretty long game. Now, how top heavy is this? I have no idea. That really depends on how creative they are as a builder. I think you could leave Ting-Lu behind easily. And we've got Oricorio, Phalanx, Stantler, and Wiglet. I mean, Stantler can definitely come, but very easily stays behind. Sneasel easily stays behind. Ceruledge easily stays behind. All of these mons easily stay behind and still form a pretty coherent team. So I'd say this is a pretty wide team. But like I said, that really comes down to the builder, where they can have like a core concept in mind and then just kind of plug and play their last mon, or their last 2, or their last 3 mons, and just like try and bring, say, Rotom, Espathra, Ting-Lu every game. That's like a fictitious example, but it's very easy to do something like that with a team like this, where you can have that core team that you bring consistently, or you can easily slot them out as well.
Yeah. The only Pokemon I think I would expect to come every game would be Ting-Lu. Just be like I think you can totally create coherent.
Because I was thinking it would be Espathra.
Really? I mean, I love Espathra.
Ting-Lu has the problem of stopping Espathra and Rotom and Vaporeon from doing as much damage, and Oricorio from doing as much damage with special moves. And Espathra is broken.
That's true. But I think both of those things are true. I guess you're right. Ting-Lu might not come every game.
Yeah. Ting-Lu is definitely a mon that can sit out of a team of 4, even if it does come to team preview every game, because it does have that anti-synergy with the very good special offense package. That said, it's anti-synergy that you have control over, to some extent, because obviously you can get trapped in, or your opponent can KO the other 2 Pokemon and force Ting-Lu in.
Yeah, I think I'd expect it to come to team preview every game. I don't think it'll come to.
Yeah, I think it may not even come to team preview every game. I'm very okay with putting this at like a 0.3 of a permanent mon. A little bit more towards the long game. Phoenix Suns, the person who drafts the not top heavy looking teams and then only brings 4 Pokemon. God, Puffin, what are you doing this time? What are you doing to me? I think Puffin is doing this out of spite. It's a personal lead charged attack. Does he not know that Wugtrio only boosts Gastrodon once with Triple Dive?
Oh, does it? I guess that would make sense. It does.
Yeah. Like Palisand is the only mon that gets multiple procs off it because it still takes damage. Or I assume I assume Thermal Exchange would work like that as well, because you're not immune, you just take damage and then are immune to burn. I mean, this is just a pretty toxic team, right?
Yeah,
This
it's
looks
annoying.
pretty top heavy, but does it really? It's like, okay, so if we look at like the top 8 mons, and honestly Dragonair as well, because there's nothing competing for Eviolite. It's not a bad mon. I mean, Vespian and Wotria are still fine. That's a super top heavy, not super top heavy, sorry, it's a super wide threat bucket. Like, I think that he's going to have radically different fours that he's bringing to games. That said, I do think that like Wochien, Skeleturge, Grimmsnarl are coming to most every game in Team Preview.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean,
I put this a little bit towards the top heavy end, and it's also long game.
yeah, oh, for sure, it's the longest game probably that's been drafted. I think.
Yeah, I mean, Glimmer is fast, but can very easily go long. Taurus is fast. That's literally it. Yeah, this is an even longer game than the previous team, because the previous team had like Scarlet, Rotom, Tinkaton, which can play into quicker games easier than like a, look, I've seen Specs, Wochi, and Pop Off, but I just don't think that's a consistent threat.
Yeah, I think the game plan is pretty much try to, like, not always, but the idea is like Mortal Spin, sit behind screens, and Leech
Mortal
Seed
Spin,
back.
eh?
I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know if I necessarily expect Mortal Spin over Toxic, but who knows? What's the point of running Mortal Spin over Toxic? Like, do you really prefer regular poison to Toxic poison?
No, I think that's just my ladder. Like, I'm used to ladder, and so I've seen more Mortal Spin on ladder, but I guess Toxic just does make more sense in draft most of the time.
I mean, obviously you run Mortal Spin against Hatterene, but
right,
you play one of them. Espeon's the only other Magic Bounce mod in the format, and I'd hit it with Power Gem if I was the Glamora. Yeah, I think Toxic probably just makes more sense in this format. But I don't know, maybe you run Rocks and click like Earthquake with Wochien or something. No, or I don't know about Earthquake. You click like a spread physical move. Are there other spread physical moves that hit your partner Pokemon? I can't think of one. Petal Lizard? Know. They don't have a Petal Lizard user, I don't think, unless Wochien gets it. I actually don't know if it gets Earthquake either.
It does not get Earthquake.
Okay. Well,
and unfortunately not Petal Blizzard either.
Tragedy. You E-speed it with Dragonair.
Perfect. That's the plan.
Or you just tear up grass and with like Tauros. And that's how you get Toxic Spikes. Anyways, I think we're pretty well set on what this team is. Speaking of teams, Canor is really pulling a fast one again. Do we have someone watching this guy? I feel like we need to have someone watching this guy. What the hell? I don't know what to think about this team. Do you know what to think about this team?
No. I mean,
well, what Iron have you
Bundle, Iron Bundle's really fast and really.
Yes, Iron Bundle's a fast mon, but we've seen it function on like Perish Trap teams, so it can definitely play towards a long game. It doesn't favor a long game, but it absolutely can play towards one. But like Slitherwing can play to a long game. Gambit can play to a long game. Why do you have two Assault Vest mons in a row? There's a Daxbun, but the fire type is Rotom Heat, not like something with Lava Plume. Indeedee is here, but you have three really good priority mons. Is Indeedee here as an offensive Psychic type with Icy Wind and to stop Iron Bundle getting faked out so you don't feel like you have to put a Cover Cloak on it? Maybe.
It could also be a fake out.
Sure. I love Synchronize. It's a great ability.
Well, there's the one that stops you from being faked
I know, you would run in a Focus, yeah.
But
I saw someone run Synchronize Indeedee in singles and burn me back. It was heartbreaking.
That's very frustrating. But
yeah, Toadschool is a Pokemon. Darkspawn's Pokemon. Lycanroc's alright, but it's really bad in Psychic Terrain because Sucker is its best move. Toxtricity's cool, but with who?
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't have a partner. Yeah, it doesn't even have.
He doesn't have
I mean, I guess next to Toadspool, if you want.
You put it next to Kingambit, right? Or you can discharge next to Toadspool, but then you aren't going through subs and you're not taking advantage of the funny ability. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I have no idea how the team functions.
Look, I hope the FBI puts this on a list. I'm gonna put this in the middle, and I'm gonna say it's a little bit top heavy, but just like a little bit, like in like the two low, like 2.8, 2.9 sort of range, because I think Iron Bundle and Kingambit are coming basically every game, and question mark maybe Rotom. I have no idea. Disquake has never been more powerful than with Slitherwing Darkspawn. Oh, sorry, Slitherwing Rotom Heat. I don't think anything else gets Earthquake. Maybe Kingambit, but no, Bishop doesn't. So if Kingambit does, that's bullshit. Also, I played a Natdex draft league singles, and I got pursued by Kingambit, and if I had realized it had Pursuit, I would have stayed in and it would have died. So I don't understand why they switched it in and went for Pursuit. I just forgot I had Pursuit. Goddamn Natdex. Okay, Goose. See, I love Goose, but I don't understand his brain either. This team is like a super fast game team and a super slow game team. The first thing that I notice is that Iron Moth doesn't have Sludge Wave, and so it uses Acid Spray. The fastest special attacker on this team is Sylveon at 60 speed.
That's pretty. That's not super fast.
Or I think Murkrow has 85 special attack at 91 speed.
Yeah.
Roxas is 70 special attack. That's almost as much as Blissey. Iron Treads is 72, you know, that's not bad. I suppose, you know, it could be the Acid Spray Earth Power. It just seems... This doesn't seem like a team that has great synergy with Iron Moth. Like, you can Sludge Wave next to Iron Treads, sure. But I think the main value of it normally is that it sets up for another fast special attacker to, like... You know, you position someone and then you Acid Spray the resist to the spread move you're about to click. And then they both die of the spread move.
Right.
But this is not a team that really does that super well. So I'm not sure what it's doing. Bruxish is funny. Little... But you forgot to get other fast, frail Pokemon.
Yeah, otherwise why?
I just don't. I don't know what this, like, is it playing towards, like, a Trick Room? It's got Gallade and Bruxish as Trick Room setters, and then it's got some good Trick Room abusers. It's got Long Game in Appleton. Appleton's a phenomenal Long Game mon. Blissey can probably Long Game. I know Fortress is that Iron Defense Body Press, which is like a medium game sort of pace. But, you know, Iron Treads can probably Long Game. It's got a pretty good defensive profile. 90, 120, 70 with Ground Steel typing. I think that's about as bulky as Excadrill is on the special side, and definitely bulkier on the physical side. He's got a little bit more SPDF and a little bit less HP.
Electros kind of can. It's like a medium game-ish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always ran it in super tempo compositions because it's really good at that. But when I say I ran it in super tempo compositions, I mean around like Expert Belt. Expert Belt Dragon Pulse, bros. Have faith. I mean, Eel's normally really good with an Earthquake Mon, which they have it. I just don't know if... I mean, my Earthquake Mon was Dragonite, so Iron Treads is probably better. I ran Choice Scarf, and then they were Covert Cloak on the Mon that I was faster with because of my Choice Scarf. I mean, I KO'd it over like 3 turns, but you know.
That's 3, yeah.
I have no idea. I'm putting this in the middle. I'm putting this just in wide because I think this team is going to fall into like a core set of Pokemon that come consistently, but I have no idea what they are. I guess Murkrow Gallade's really good. Murkrow Sylveon's really good. Murkrow Iron Treads is fine. Iron Treads is... I mean, Iron Treads is not very good. But it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's a ground type. It's a ground type, which is valuable.
It's got Earthquake and 106 attack, is it? No, 120. No, that's 112. I think that's the same as Donphan. I'm gonna make sure. No, Donphan's 120 attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weaker than Donphan, but it's faster than Donphan.
Yeah, it's much faster.
Does Murkrow get Tail Whip?
Yeah, Murkrow gets Tailwind.
Okay, I mean you can Tail Whip and Earthquake, and that probably makes more sense than Tailwind half the time because it's already really flippin' fast. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say it's pretty wide. I think Murkrow is probably gonna come a lot because whatever you're doing, it probably has the right support for it. Except Trick Room, I guess. Why does this team have a Fake Out user? Like, I love Scrub. It's really strong. But why does this team have a Fake Out user? Like, I love clicking Gunk Shot with Scrub because it's very funny that it has 60 attack and adaptability. But
that is a funny Pokemon.
It's quite comedic. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Ting Division. The Dublin Dondozos.
This is an interesting team.
This is a combo-heavy team.
Very.
Does Weavile get beat up in this format? I know a bunch of Pokemon lost it, but surely Weavile didn't.
I think Weavile has it.
Okay. So we've got Tatsdozo, we've got Poltcall, we've got Weavile and Annihilape, and then we've got like Flamigo to copy boosts from Poltcall or Dozo Tatsu. We've got Toxapex as like a wide guard mon, which can be helpful for Colossal. It also works if you run like a Trick Room Colossal, you can surf with Toxapex.
Oh.
This team does not have a Trick Room setter. I retract my statement. Vivion's a good redirector. It's really good. Wide Guard's not bad at all. I don't know. This team feels medium pace. Because, like, Tatsdozo is pretty medium pace. Beat Up Annihilape's pretty medium pace. Poltcall is very fast. So I'd say it's a little bit on the tempo side of Dublin Dondozos. And how wide is this? This seems pretty wide because you can just slot in whatever combo you want to use that week.
Does this actually... Does this team have a way to kill its Tatsugiri? Like,
I think that it's a bad idea to kill your Tatsugiri most of the time.
Yeah, it's just you have Flamigo.
I understand that, but that's for Colossal.
I guess, yeah.
And like it can be for Tatsu because you can just run that Toxic Orb Endure, right? Like you have options to kill off Tatsugiri. You can also just like surf next to like you can run like a surf sort of comp where you have that Tatsugiri. Like you surf with Dragapult to proc Colossal or to boost Tatsugiri Storm Drain. And like honestly, Water Spam is pretty potent in this format. I recently had like a Vaporeon team with Tatsugiri. And I like Scarf Vaporeon, Specs Tatsugiri, and it does a lot of damage. I remember I was like 3-8 KOing, which means like in the course of a turn and a half through like their defensive grass type. Which is pretty good.
That is pretty good.
It turns out their defensive grass type being dead is something I appreciate. as a water spam team. Yeah. So like, this team can definitely like slot into different modes. Very freely. I think Annihilape is going to come pretty consistently, and I think Polt might come pretty consistently. I think everything else can really plug and play. Like Dondozo without Tatsugiri can 1v4 teams. Yeah. I've seen it do it more than once. Like it's an incredibly stupid Pokemon, and then they decided to also add the Tatsugiri combo for bonus thing. Like the number of times I've seen someone like haze Dondozo and then lose. It's like, yeah. Or like they KO the Dondozo, but then get cleaned up by the Tatsugiri after, you know, because it's like
it's a crazy.
Or they were like, you know what can beat Dondozo? Endeavor. If you've beaten Dondozo with Endeavor, your opponent has not played even vaguely competently. Like, no, the Sash Endeavor. Well, the problem is that the Dondozo is going to move before you do most of the time. So on the turn you Endeavor, they've already KO'd your partner Pokemon at every given occasion. And then because you have no partner Pokemon left, you can't actually KO the Dondozo after you Endeavor. So you just lose.
Yeah, you just die.
And their Dondozo is at 1% while you lose. It's like, you know. Or, you know, maybe you beat them because they wave crash, but they shouldn't do that. That's stupid. They should just run liquidation. I did run rest talk with liquidation wave crash once though, but that was definitely without Tatsugiri.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Well, I think I had a Storm Drain Tatsugiri, but you know,
oh, okay.
the idea wasn't Tatsudoza. But yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty wide team. I don't know why I have it slightly tempo. I should have it slightly on wide. No. That Cole and Iolape are both pretty fast, like, and they're just like offensive Flamigo. Oh, Lurantis. Flamigo can also copy Lurantis.
Oh,
you can only
true.
copy Leaf Storm though, because it lost the other one.
Yeah, you have to run special attacking Flamigo.
Honestly, it probably is funny. If it gets Aura Sphere, it's probably usable. It's got 75 special attack. That's not bad if you're giving it +4, you know?
Yeah, it's not
All right.
horrible.
Steve.
Again, with +4.
I'm just going to, knowing that it's Steve, put this team at wide.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at the team, and I agree with my statement. I think all of these Pokemon are usable. I think Tropius is the least usable, and Tropius is more usable than like 8 other Pokemon we've like given consideration to.
Yeah.
It's a good team. It's a strong team. I'm so glad that I'm in physical right now. What the hell? Then again, if I was in special, he wouldn't have this. You know.
It's so strong.
It's a really consistent tail room sort of team, because Hydreigon and Volcarona are both really good tail room mons, and Vinehands is a phenomenal tail room mon, and Bronzong and Slowking are both great room options. Jolteon's funny. You know, Glaceon is the Pokemon we keep memeing, therefore it must be good. Basculin is honestly insanely strong. If you adaptability head smash with Terra Rock, mons take like 80% and don't die. Speaking from personal experience. Mudbrain and Shellos are both really good EVL-Lite one-ofs.
Yep.
And Tropius is fine. I don't know, this team's really wide. I'd say it's pretty tempo because of the tail room. But Ironhands can definitely late game with those Swords Dance Drain Punch sort of sets. Obviously, Bronzong can have like Stored Power nonsense. Hydreigon's got plenty of sub nonsense sets with Snarl as well. No, I take it back. It's just a minute. I'm leaving it here. It's staying in like wide in the middle. I'd say maybe leaning slightly tempo. Sorry, you're allowed to give other thoughts.
The only Pokemon I think comes every game is Iron Hands.
Yeah, I've got it at like 0.9.
Yeah, it's just like it's such a flexible Pokemon that like why wouldn't I don't see a matchup that we wouldn't want to be in.
Yeah. I mean, that's just Iron Hands being broken. But honestly, you could, you know, maybe that game comes. You know, there's definitely enough mons that you could consider it like a set of 6 that doesn't include it.
For sure. It's just like I have trouble imagining a team.
My thought process is it would be a tail roomy team, right? So Hydreigon and Volcarona as like the tailwind sort of options, Basculin as the main abuser there, and then have Bronzong and Slowking, and then you can run like as Strip Room setters, and you could have Jolteon or either of the NFEs taking out that more offensive slot, because Shellos and Slowking is another thing like that surf spam that I was talking about.
Right.
Note that Shellos is just mono water, which does impact it.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that does matter.
Flippin' Flamigos.
Flippin' Flamigos.
LS, which stands for this player sucks. Gosh, this team is terrifying. Kind of reminds me of your team.
It was funny because when I was initially drafting, I got the Fluttermane, and I was looking through what I wanted next, and my first thought was, oh, if Indeedee makes it back around to me, Indeedee female, I'm totally going to take it.
Well, so unfortunately you weren't in the special team, so there was no way Indeedee was making it back to here.
Unfortunately, it did not.
Well, Indeedee made it back to here, just not Indeedee.
Yeah, and the other Indeedee, and a couple rounds later. But yeah, this team has
got a very strong short game and then a decent long game, but a very, very strong tempo. Like, all these mons tempo out super well.
Yep, it can.
I would probably put this pretty high in the tempo side. How wide is it? I think it's only a little bit wide. I'd say there are probably 3 months that come basically every week, 3.5 even. Being Indeedee Rouge main, because they're all insane.
Yep, I mean...
And it's like, I'm half tempted to put Azumarill there as well, which is why it's at 3.5.
I like, maybe... oh, never mind. I mean, Ting-Lu's in the other division, so they're not going to be playing against Ting-Lu. But if they were...
Even if they were playing against Ting-Lu. Also, all 4 of the Ruins are in the other division, mind you.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a discussion that we specifically had when we were looking at this, LS and myself. Yeah, Azumarill is pretty good at threatening them. You can still bring in Indeedee Rouge, right?
Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I stand pretty high behind this. Is tempo and not super wide, definitely a little bit on the top heavy side. The Philadelphia Ash Whoopers. I'm pretty sure, yeah, Philadelphia has just been spelled wrong here. Who's been like trolling the team names? Like the Apex Law and Marowaks have lost their signature C because it's supposed to be whack. This one is, I don't know what happened to Philadelphia here. And there was another team, Queen's Majesty, that was sometimes put in with a J and sometimes with a G. And it says on the logo G, so I'm going to assume it's meant to be G. Or rather infer. But like it's right there. Yeah. This team is funny. Why did they take Iron Valiant? Round 1. And then get round 2 Golengo. What the hell? I personally am not a massive Iron Valiant fan, but it's very tempo, but then a lot of this team is very long game. By which I mean a lot of this team is very bad. Why? What's this? Why are there 4 Pokemon that are not super consistent?
Yeah.
I was being told that...
Valiant either. I'm not the biggest fan of Valiant either, but...
Yeah. I don't... So this team feels super top heavy because there are only 6 Pokemon I think usable. But like...
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I don't know. Shroomish only has Spore. Right? It's not even a fighting type. It's got 40 attack and 40 special attack. It doesn't have Mark Punch. 60 speed. You know, Floette has 61 special attack and 42 speed. You know, like Drowsy I can accept will come to a game to set Trick Room. But I don't see the other ones ever. I don't think Iron Valiant's very good, but it's probably going to come a bunch. Raichu, this is what Raichu's worst gen, because they took away Follow Me and they made Covert Cloak, so Fake Out's terrible. And like, last gen was already a terrible gen because Dynamax made Fake Out terrible. But like, Nuzzle is even worse because of Covert Cloak, and that was like the main thing that it still had left. And now, they don't even have a ground type for it to Disquake next to, or like Discharge next to. I think this team is just by result of having a bunch of Pokemon that are not super consistent. I think this team is stuck being pretty top heavy. I would say this team is a mess of long game and short game as well, but I'd say it plays a little bit more tempo. Maybe
yeah,
not quite as top heavy as I'm saying, but I think there are like 4 Pokemon that come every week.
Yeah. I mean, Goldengo's going to come every week.
Sableye, Goldengo, Corviknight, Iron Valiant, I think, comes every week. And then, honestly, it's just Gyarados, Raichu, Dragology in that last slot most of the time. Because, like, who's abusing Trick Room? Dragology is abusing Trick Room, but Dragology's not really good, particularly, like, slow Mon.
Floette will abuse Trick Room.
Yeah. I mean, if Floette had Trick Room, I think I'd be much more up on it. But it's just not very strong. I mean, look, you got Sableye for Fake Tears. Like, Dragology can take names. I find it very difficult to position in the Trick Room with this team, though. Because it's Drowsy. And, you know, Drowsy's got Inner Focus. And Insomnia. So, you know, that removes 2 of the ways that you can reliably prevent Trick Room. If you... I mean, you can only run one of them at a time, but, you know.
But, it doesn't have a reliable... Like, a super reliable Trick Room sweeper.
Yeah, well, and like, Dragology's good, it's just your opponent can very, like, if your opponent brings a Trick Room team against you, which they very may well, I feel like you lose in Trick Room 100% of the time, and, you know, this team has Sableye to stop Trick Room, and, like, maybe Dingleam, Make It Rain. I feel like this is a team that would have benefited from having that, like, immunity sort of thing. And like I talked in my Tailwind video about the virtue of Corviknight as a Tailwind setter, as a bulkier Tailwind setter, but I'm just not sure that this is the sort of team where it actually does that, because it's weak to Fire and Electric, and this team is... Raichu and Flareon are immune, I suppose, but... Dragalge resists both, but none of the other stuff. Like, Gyarados resists one of them, but it's 4x weak to the other, and then the other mons, like top mons, don't resist it at all. There's not even, like... a random thick fat grass type or something, or not grass type, but something resisted electric. So I think this team is top heavy by just not having a particularly coherent team comp, and I think it's a little bit on the tempo side, but it's also got a lot of mons that force it to play a longer game just because they aren't turn 1 strong.
Yeah, I mean Goldango can be turn 1 strong. But... yeah,
Goldango can be turn 1 strong, Iron Valiant can be turn 1 strong, and Gyarados can be turn 1 strong. Dragalge technically is, but like, Sableye, Corviknight, Raichu, Dragalge, these are definitely mons that play more into a longer game. I would say that Corviknight is an incredible longer game Pokemon with a team that is mostly using Sableye, Wisp, and Encore to try and get in that position, but then you're like using the Terra and hoping that your Terra may be into Dragon, so you resist Fire and Electric, and then that they don't click a move that does that or switch at any point. Or like when I say at any point, I mean fast enough to threaten you. I don't know, I'm just not sure that this game plan will work. I just don't understand this choice for last 4 months. Like, I feel like they should have gotten something that was a little bit more coherent.
I mean, Drowsy's
fine. Flareon, Shroomish, Floor, I guess, is more what I'm saying. Like I said, I think Drowsy has merits. Flareon is an okay mon that has a lot of major flaws that this team does not help it address at all. I mean, look at this team's Earthquake matchup. It's Corviknight, who really wants to Terra into something that isn't weak to Electric, which, it can be Grass, but then you're still weak to Fire. So, it's Dragon, and then you're getting hit by Earthquake, and then it's Gyarados, who, it's got a decent matchup into it, but it's got a lot of its own flaws as a mon.
Yeah. And to address it, you probably want Raichu next to it, but if you have Raichu next to it, then you have a Pokemon that's weak to Earthquake on the field.
Yeah. Like, your opponent Disquakes you, and even though you have an immunity to both, you still lose both your Pokemon. Like, that's rough.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, Gyarados, like, all these Pokemon individually can work. I am not seeing the coherent game plan, but, Daddy can definitely pull it together. I remember him being very confident that, that Iron Valiant was good. So, it's up to him to prove it. I'm doubting it, but it could be.
I'd love to see a good Iron Valiant, because I can't make it work for the life of me.
Personally, I don't want to see a good Iron Valiant. I'd happily have it be bad. I just want to see Daddy succeed.
I
don't care for the mon. Like, I don't mind it. I think it is the worst Paradox mon. Like, it's the one that I like the least by a pretty broad margin.
I love its design. I just can't play with it.
It looks like a Barbie doll, and that's like okay, but then it also doesn't, because it's got like reticulated things. But I just don't like it. It feels like it has a design, and it has a separate design, and I don't like that. I feel like maybe they should have gone for like a more 3D printed sort of style, because all of the different Paradox like future mons are meant to put like different technological design styles into them, and it just doesn't. Like, it's got like 2 separate ones that that don't mesh well for me. So that's why I'm hesitant on it. Okay, die crit. Well, it's a long game team.
Yeah.
There are 2 quick game Pokemons on this team, being Tauros and Zoroark. And Tauros can play long game very easily.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, long game team. I think this is only slightly less long than the Phoenix Suns. Is this team top heavy? I have no idea. If you told me they brought all 11 of these Pokemon to 2 games this season, I would believe you. I don't expect Famfia Gigagool to come more than once, but like, if you told me that they came more than once this season, I would believe you. Like, this is a team that can easily drop Palafin. Last season I had a team that really didn't like dropping Palafin, and I still dropped Palafin. Screamtail Goth can easily be dropped. Taurus is a mon that probably comes the most consistently, followed by Palafin. But you know,
Yeah.
it's super wide team. But this is going very similar to that other team, the Pegasus team.
Which team is that?
The one with the Oricorio failings and stuff that's extra.
Oh, yeah.
Something Snivy. Skillful Snivy? No, it was on the last page. I don't remember. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? Is it maybe a more tempo-y game, or is it maybe a more top-heavy team, in your opinion?
No. I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it.
I think Goth comes every week in offensive games, drafts, but in defensive drafts, it can stay on the bench very easily.
Yeah. Like, maybe Palafin comes every game, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah. Look, I had Palafin on a team that was built around Palafin, and it didn't come every game. So I think on this team, which is by no means built around Palafin, it can definitely stay on the bench. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's another thing, like I was saying with like I said with the other two teams that were very wide, is that they're teams that also have a strong top end that if the player feels more comfortable, could just come every week and probably still succeed. But they can also very easily all stay on the bench. If you told me that Palafin came to 5 of the 7 games, I believe you. Same with Goth. Same with Screamtail. If you told me it came to 7 of 7, I believe you. But I very easily believe you if you told me it came to 4 or 5.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like, look, I would not be, like, this team is of the style that I would not be completely surprised if Palafin stayed on the bench in exchange for Fanpy coming, like, there's that team that has, like, 5 electric types,
Yeah.
What a world we live in. The Cincy Minchies. Every Pokemon on this team has Tailwind. Both you in 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's Tailwind.
Very Tailwind focused.
All of these Pokemon are really good. I think the worst Pokemon on this team is Quillfish, which has Intimidate and okay stats and move pool.
Yeah.
When Quillfish is the worst Pokemon, you've got a strong team.
It's got a cool move pool.
It's got Destiny Bond. No, it has Toxic Spikes, which this team can take use of in longer games. But so does Ghastly, for some reason. They gave it to it this gen. Dude, this team, like, every single one of this team is, like, annoying. It's like, when the least annoying Pokemon is the, like, it's slowly, somewhat offensively threatening, but not that much. But very, a potent defensive typing, Toxapex Jr. over here. When that is the least scary mon, that says a lot. Like, I had Ghastly in WPF. I picked it up for like the last 5 games, and I brought it to 2 of them, and it like hit the field in both. Like,
Yeah, I mean Ghastly's.
And I've seen Cockle too. I've seen Cockle break people.
I think this team definitely got the most out of their 1-point mons that I saw.
Oh, absolutely. Those are, I think, by a strong candidates for 2 or 3 pointers. Okay, so I'm going to say this team is wide, though I do think Roaring Moon comes a lot. I'm going to put this in like 1.5, where I think that Scizor probably also comes a lot. But honestly, Quack and Talonflame and Florius and Rotom and the things. I think you probably don't see more than 2 of Impotent, Ghastly, and Carkle in a game.
Yeah.
But that's like that's 4 of the Pokemon, But I think that maybe you don't even see 2 of Impidimp and Ghastly in a game. But maybe you do.
I think you could.
If you do, it's probably Light Clay or Covert Cloak on Impidimp and Sash on Ghastly. That's my thoughts.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I think outside of Roaring Moon...
How tempo heavy is this game? This team is super tempo heavy and also super long game. What the hell? I mean, Sizzle losing Roost, I guess, makes it a little bit less long game, so I put it, it's more long, it's less long game than the last team we looked at.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty tempo heavy. I think it's pretty tempo heavy, just because...
You think it's pretty tempo heavy? I mean, so many of these mons are set up, right? Like, Talonflame's most of the time going to be a dead turn on turn 1, where you're either clicking Wisp, which is playing towards a long game, or you're clicking Tailwind, which is playing towards like a mid-speed game, very mid-rangey. Same thing with Roaring Moon. It can be attacking, or it can be Dragon Dancing, or it can be Tailwinding, or it could be Breaking Swiping, or Snarling. Scizor is a mon that sets up a lot. Florges is not... Like, Florges is strong, but it's not, like, tempo-heavy strong. It's mid... Okay, sorry.
What?
You muted yourself, so I assumed that...
Oh, sorry. No, it was an accident.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on it just being pure tempo? I don't know.
I wouldn't say it's pure tempo. I guess...
More tempo-heavy than...
Yeah, more tempo-heavy.
It seems like a mid-range team that can skew into that tempo game plan, but I would say easier into the long game plan.
Now that I'm looking at it more, you're probably right. My initial thought was just, I figured something was going to be clicking Tailwind turn 1, and the other thing was going to be hitting really hard. Whether it be like Roaring Moon or Florges or Quaquaval.
But Florges is hitting with 112 special attack.
Yeah.
So it's like Roaring Moon and Quack, but both of them could also set up.
Yeah, they could as well, for sure.
And then Scizor.
And when I look at stuff like Impidimp on the team now, and Crowfish stuff like Screens and Intimidate, like this team could totally go pretty long.
Yeah, I think that this is a team which is kind of in that range of it's a mid-range team for sure. I think it leans a bit on the long game, but just a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So now, look at the Dauntless Dragonite with Slushy 2k. That's a very expensive Slushy. This is a tempo. This is such a tempo team. What the hell? This team is tempo as hell. Oh my lord. This team wouldn't know long game if it, well, I mean, like it can. It's got a bunch of Pokemon that can easily slot into long game. Great Tusk can long game. Dragonite's really good at it. Rotom is really good at it. Amoonguss is like the most versatile mon in terms of tempo versus long game. And I don't know, Meowscarada is not great at it, but Braviary can. They have a Ditto. Riolu and Fletchling. Dude, these mons are nuts. But Riolu is such a tempo heavy mon. My god. What the hell is this team? Is it Dragonite or Braviary clicking Tailwind? That's the only question I can ask.
Yeah. And Dragonite fits really well into really tempo-heavy teams.
But it also fits better into, like, really onto long-game teams.
Yeah.
Because it's got multi-scale.
And Roost. And,
and, like, Dragonite is broken. And Hurricane's funny, but this isn't a rain team. But it is, because it's got Riolu. But it isn't, you know.
Yeah.
God, this team is nuts. What?
I mean,
I don't like it. I don't want to play it. I'm so glad that I'm in physical right now. What the hell? That said, the second I get into physical, I'm going to be crying. I have no idea. Is this team wide? Is this team top heavy? I mean, Dragonite will probably come a decent bit, but I've seen it sit on the bench. Great Tusk will probably come a decent bit, but I've seen it sit on the bench. Meowscarada, when I had it, it barely came, but when it came, it did a lot. Rotomosh, you know. Like, all these mons can sit on the bench. Like, I don't consider Flaffy a super genuine mon, and I'm on the fence about Ditto, but everything else is quite solid. Every other mon I've seen do stuff.
Pretty much everything can come, and everything can sit.
Ditto in VGC is like the most skill-intensive mon.
Really? I've never tried. So
not skill-intensive. That's not the word. It has the highest skill floor, or not the highest, but like, I think relative to skill ceiling, it's very high. Because like Perish Trap, for example, is very complicated and very difficult to execute well. But if you can execute it well, it'll do an insane amount of stuff. But Ditto is a mon that like is very difficult to execute well, and then the payoff is pretty consistent. It's a decent payoff, but it's not going to be like insta-winning you the game. But it can reliably stop you from losing a game, which is always cool.
That is cool.
And you know what the best item for Ditto in VGC is?
No idea. I'm guessing it's not Choice Scarf still?
No, because unfortunately they had this thing called Trick Room. And Tailwind, which also neutralizes Choice Scarf. No, Quick Claw. because then you win speed types out of the way.
That makes sense. That's weird though.
Exactly. You can also run room service.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But so this team is like a you're saying it's really high tempo heavy?
Oh, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know what, like, I'd say it's tempo heavy. It's not like crazy tempo heavy, but like it is the most. I think it has the best tempo heavy composition of any of the teams we've looked at so far. Like, its tempo team of 4 is better than every other tempo team of 4 we've seen.
Yeah, I could agree to that.
Yeah. But you're like it has long game, but I think it skews tempo. Yeah. And I'd say it's pretty top heavy, a little bit top heavy. I think Dragonite, Great Tusk coming every week. Amoonguss pretty freaking, like, I don't know, I could see them sitting on the bench, but I don't expect them to.
Yeah.
Like, I've definitely seen them all sitting on the bench before, but yeah.
I don't know if Amoonguss is going to come every week.
Yeah, I have them at like the 2 and a bit range. 2.8. I was actually thinking, Rotom might be the other one that comes every week. Rotom Dragonite is a great Disc-Quake core. Rotom is like a slightly worse Electros.
Yeah.
So onto the Gemstone Bandits under Big Bling Boy. My opponent said, I want to scam, and scam they did. Double Shed Tail into Sandvale Garchomp. With Perish Song as well. My opponent said they want to scam, and scam they did. It seems like a really medium to mid-range team. A lot of mid-range.
Yeah.
Jumpluff is a good dual screen setter, as well as it can also do Tailwind pretty well next to Tyranitar, Sandy Shocks. 2 different Shed Tailors, as well as a Revival Blessinger. The Sandvale on offensive Garchomp. This seems like a team which is like really trying to get into gross positions and take advantage of them in the long game. And they even have like Chansey, which is probably clicking like Sing or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This definitely seems like, oh my god, the round 3 Masquerade broken.
Yeah, I saw that. When I saw that drafted, I was a little surprised. But
I think it's a bit wide. I think Garchomp Tyranitar come basically every game. But everything else can slot in and out. Except Love Disc.
Yeah. Does Love Disc get wide guard? Is that what it does? Or what does it just do nothing?
I would assume nothing, but I could be wrong. I've seen it click a move before, but I do not remember what that move was. And it was also in that deck, so it may not get that move. Like, I remember Love Disc doing something that was funny. Oh, no, I remember what Love Disc did.
What does it do?
No, it did. In a low tier Latdex league. They had a rain team and it clicked Hydro Pump. Because it's got Swift Swim. It was not a particularly good mon. I guess it's got like Charm and Attract.
And it has Icy Wind, I guess.
Yeah, 97 speed Icy Wind is not unusable, though. They have Masquerade, which is also Icy Wind, but with Intimidate. They've got Jumpluff, which has got Tailwind. I don't know if that, like, Gengar is Icy Wind, but... Yeah, I'm just not sure. Like, they're all things that support Tyranitar to some degree. And, maybe sometimes that 97 speed is going to be it. I don't know, though.
Yeah. So, but overall, it's a pretty wide team.
Pretty wide team. Well, no, I'd say it's a bit of a wide team. I think the Garchomp and Tyranitar come every game, and maybe Sandy Shocks. But then the support stuff can, like, orient. Maybe not even Tyranitar. I don't know. I think Tyranitar comes a lot, though.
I think Tyranitar comes a lot. I'm not sure Sandy Shocks comes all the time.
Sandy Shocks is a very good mon, so it definitely can. But it's a testament to the variety of their team and the way that they're playing that it doesn't necessarily. This team's super ice weak.
Yeah.
Love Disc is their ice resist. Besides Orthworm. Masquerade carries into a water type to finally achieve what Surskit wanted this whole time. Yeah, I think that's a video.
Nice.
We didn't have a lot of top heavy long game teams, just Poppins. Otherwise, we have a lot of tempo and wide. We have a lot of long game and wide. Got a lot of tempo and top heavy. Pretty well-rounded sort of thing. This is pretty common as well. You don't tend to have long game top heavy teams because long game teams tend to prefer wide. So I thank everyone for watching. I thank my incredible co-host, Captain Rain, for coming along.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Please check out their channel down below. It has recently posted a fantastic draft review video that you definitely would not have guessed was their first ever content, because it is phenomenal. So yeah, check them out. Thank you a ton for watching, and thank you for sticking with me.